Hey everybody, I know you can't tell because everything's green screened out, but I have an awesome new setup going up in my room. I'm super excited about this. I've got an L-shaped desk that I got for free because they were getting rid of it at work. I've got dual monitors now, which is going to be dope for live streaming and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, I just want to kind of say, hey, I don't know. I feel like I kind of upgraded here, and this is super awesome. This is hopefully going to help a lot with my productivity and, like I said, with the live streams and stuff. But anyway, that's also why I'm down here in the corner because I got my camera here on my secondary monitor, and I'm going to be looking this way. And maybe it'll look like I'm reading the webpage. I don't know. Anyway, in this video, we're going to be talking about WoW leaks. We're going to be talking about leaks for the upcoming 8.3 patch and also for the 9.0 expansion. So, I'm not here to talk about whether I think these are legit. I'm here to talk about whether I think that the ideas in them are cool and whether I'd like to see them and just give my opinion on whether or not these seem awesome. So, we're going to start out, we're going to kind of go in order here, and we're going to start with the 8.3 leaks. So the first one we got here is, most of this stuff is from 4chan, but I found most of the links on Reddit. You can just hit up the WoW Reddit, type in links in the search bar, and that's going to get you to where I'm at here for the majority of this stuff. So we're going to read through these and talk about the different bullet points. So let's kick things off. So this is 8.3. And this is talking about the final raid dungeon journal. So the raid is called the Ruined Cradle. It's located in Silithus. It's a 10 boss raid, and the map shows the area of Silithus around Sargeras' sword. The first part of the raid happens in Silithus. Each faction begins in a different part of the map: southwest for the Alliance, northeast for the Horde. Southwest is pretty close to Anchorage, so that seems kind of weird. The description says that the Horde and Alliance have started the final battle to end the conflict, and it started when Thanos went to the wound to conclude Sylvanas' plan. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Ruined Cradle, that sounds cool. Located in Silithus, I could see that happening. 10 boss raid, okay. The raid happening in Silithus around Sargeras' sword. I think that would be a cool idea to end the expansion on. Like, hey, we're coming back to the thing that kind of started this whole expansion. I think that would be a pretty sweet way to implement that and just kind of have that happen for both the Horde and the Alliance. Why we would get back there, I'm not really sure. Maybe there's a large source of Azerite, and part of Sylvanas' plan is to do something with that, and so the Horde and the Alliance are coming together to, fight over this, or the Alliance trying to prevent the Horde, or what. I'm not really sure. I think there's going to be some kind of divide or split in the Horde, so I don't know how that would play out, because we obviously have the, Sourfang and Bane. I think it's Bane. Split with Thrall and everything else. So it almost feels like three factions right now, where we have the Alliance side, then we have the Horde side, like Sylvanas side, and then the more honorable, noble, traditional Horde. And then we also just have Night Elves off doing their own thing. Tyranda's out there I'm the Night Warrior. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's all going to come together, but it sounds like a plausible idea at least. So the 10 bosses are blah, blah, blah. I think they cover these in all the bullet points, so we'll skip this. The first boss is similar to Dazar'alor's. Alliance will fight Lasan Skyhorn and his tribe. So Skyhorn, I believe, are primarily the black colored Tauren from, what's it called? It's south of the Barrens. I can't think of the name right now. But it's the area that got flooded. Maybe that's who it is, or maybe that could be the High Mountain Tauren. I think it's one of those two. Now that I think about it, I'm thinking it's the High Mountain Tauren. But anyway, so they're gonna fight some Tauren, obviously. And while the Horde will fight against Magister Umbric and his Void stuff, Ethereals, Void Elves, etc. Yeah, so It does sound like it's going to be like High Mountain Tribe and Void Elves pulling in some of those allied races and trying to make them relevant to the lore. Looks like a massive Alliance versus Horde battle. The second boss is a pure Azerite elemental named Teradus, or Teradus, created to defend the wound from both Alliance and Horde's forces. The area is the first one underground in a new map that follows the Sword of Sargeras downward to the core of the world. So that sounds a little weird to me. Is this Azeroth trying to defend herself from the Horde and the Alliance? That seems kind of weird. Is this a weird defense mechanism? You know, I get it. I could totally see an Azerite elemental being one of the bosses in a fight like this. That would make sense given the area and the theme of the expansion. Third boss is a machine that creates Titan Forge like the Forge of Wills, but looks Egyptian. The boss itself is true Queen Tao, I don't know, Tao, and her Titan forged Tolvir. During the fight, she'll produce more and more Tolvir to fight, reminding me of what Mogashan Vault's boss, of that Mogashan's Vault's boss. After this one, the map becomes Encourage-like with lots of titanic tunnels that descend even more. Sounds like a cool idea. I really hope they don't waste a brand new Titan machine on a one-off kind of like raid at the end of an expansion. I think that would be a waste, as something similar to the Forge of Wills is actually a big deal in terms of the lore. So for it to be the third boss of the final raid, a Battle for Azeroth, would be underwhelming, I think. Fourth boss is Haroon, and the text says he is the true Forge mightiest product. He talks like Mother, void corruption detected, alignment N'Zoth, and wants to purge the Horde and Alliance forces who descended into the wound to find a Thanos. He starts the fight like that, but then starts to change into a flesh-based construct, saying stuff like Cthulhu's will is greater. That's actually a cool idea. I like that. Cthulhu is down around that area in Silithus and Encourage. And so having some of that corruption seep in, and Cthulhu is also the one who is credited as giving the curse of flesh to everyone, so that would make sense to me. Kind of a cool idea. Fifth boss is Karaji Empress Vekuliash, and her forces hoarded the bulk of the Azerite below the wound to resurrect Cthulhu. Now that is pretty cool. That is a pretty sweet idea. She fights with a team of 4 battle guards of the Karaji: Sarmani, Almatora, Sathura, and Kiriana. So I like that. Okay. Hoard the Azerite, resurrect Cthulhu. That seems cool. Also makes you wonder, did Sargeras put the sword there for that particular reason? I don't know. I like that. I like that as a plot thread. That could be really cool. Sixth boss is Chains of Cthulhu, but the main enemy of the fight is Cthulhu's body. There are Azerite conduits and Azerite ducts. The Karaji are feeding his body the collected Azerite. The ritual of resurrection is broken, but Cthulhu has one line: "You will not stop him." So the problem that I have with, this being like a major Cthulhu thing is Ian said that we would know based on the cinematic at the end of this previous raid, Nazjatar, who the final boss of 8.3 would be. And based on that, we only have like 4 options, right? We have Janus. We we have Jaina, we have the Blood Elf, whose name I can't remember. We have N'Zoth, and we have Ashara. Those are like the 4, people that were featured in that cinematic. So it would have to be one of them, and I'm not seeing any of that here. And also, I think resurrecting Cthulhu would be super cool. Trying to resurrect Cthulhu and then having us stop it, I feel would be, like I said, underwhelming, like some of the other stuff here. Seventh boss is Nathanos, and he is paired with something called the Dark Focus. Apparently, he would curse Azeroth's world soul with it, and once it died from the wound, it would become undead, securing the world for the Forsaken in the long run. No idea if he is killed in the fight. He is fought in a room called the Spiraling Pane, which is a complex of tunnels that connect to the Edge. That is a cool idea as well. I don't like it. That's not what I would want to see happen. I think there are cooler plot threads for Azeroth, but I like the idea of that's something people have talked about a lot is Azeroth being dead. And we're going to see a link or a leak about that in a minute. Not a lot of people have talked about the possibility of Azeroth becoming undead. And that's a cool idea. I don't want to see it right now, but it's a cool idea. This new map has the fight against the Twisting Rift, apparently forcefully opened by Mal'Ganis under Sargeras' command. Mal'Ganis is wielding his own Heart of Azeroth, Heart of Sargeras, and he is almost at the world's soul. The Twisting Rift summons demons, final imps, Sargeras' executioners, and the big boss itself, two named Sargeras' constellars called Unzaron and Saragon. Alright, this all sounds dumb to me. Like, now I think we're getting into, like, Super Looney Town. Mal'Ganis wielding a Heart of Sargeras. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Going into the world soul. No. That's a big mystery, and I just don't think, like, this is the place where Blizzard is going to spoil that. Like, one of the huge lore mysteries is like, what the heck is going on with Azeroth? Why is she still asleep? Why hasn't she woken up? You know, what's going on with the world soul of Azeroth? Like, all that kind of stuff is a big mystery, and I don't feel the only reason they would be trying to bring that in here is to build up some hype and get some more attention back to World of Warcraft, and I just think this is a really bad idea. After this fight, the next area is called the Cradle, and the world soul of Azeroth occupies the southern half of the map, while the fighting arena occupies north. It looks like a bunch of roots for me. Mal'Ganis is the boss, and he uses Sargerite essences against us that are similar to those we got in 8.2. During the fight, his Heart of Sargeras is destroyed, and he uses Dreadlord skills after it. I don't know, that still sounds dumb to me. The final fight is called The Defeated, but the journal shows two moms, the Defeated and Avatar of Azeroth. Apparently, Sargeras has been corrupting the planet through his blade, and he managed to manifest a final avatar, the Defeated. When he gets into Phase 3, he changes name to Lord of the Legion, and in Phase 4, it changes again to just Sargeras. His skills are aimed at the Avatar of Azeroth, and you have to protect her from this. And apparently the fight involves Illidan because he appears as an NPC with abilities in the journal. Nope. They just really lost me at the end of this leak here. I think all this stuff sounds super ridiculous. This is like bad disconnected anime plot kind of stuff here. I could see like the final fight being around the story. I could see some reasoning for that. I don't think these ideas are cool at all. Personally, I am kind of with Pyromancer. I'm of the opinion that Sargeras is actually not 100% evil. I think that Sargeras is trying to do the right thing in possibly the wrong way, or he's trying to do the right thing in the right way, and we think it's the wrong way. I really kind of like to subscribe to those beliefs that Sargeras is not the ultimate evil, the Legion is not the ultimate evil, that they have a purpose, they have a mission, and we don't totally understand it. It definitely doesn't mean that what they do is acceptable or okay, because they obviously kill and murder and destroy, but I think there's more to it than that. And I also am of the opinion that the Titans are not on our side for like several reasons. So yeah, a lot of this stuff sounds like loony bin crap to me. Let's move on to the first stuff for the 9.0 leaks. So we have a leaked logo, World of Warcraft Awakenings. So I think the idea here would be Awakenings like Azeroth is awakening. maybe. I don't know. We also saw, like, before BFA came out, we saw several leaked logos that were Tides of Vengeance. Obviously, Tides of Vengeance was a part of Battle for Azeroth, but it wasn't the actual title of the expansion. I could see. I feel like they're at the point where they need to start talking about Azeroth waking up and some really crazy stuff starting to happen because yeah, they got to do something to make up for BFA. You know, WoD came out and they were like, "Yo, we're bringing back Illidan. We're bringing back the Legion." It's like, remember the Burning Crusade? Remember how that was really good? Yeah, you remember that? The Legion's back, Illidan's back. It was like, forget about Warlords of Draenor, and I think they're going to try to do something similar. I honestly think that 9.0, they're going to find a reason to bring back Deathwing or a Deathwing type character, like some big character from the lore, and be like, guys, I know BFA sucked, but look, Deathwing's back. Get excited. So that's, I think they're going to do something like that. And like Awakenings, you know, talking about Azeroth waking up, talking about the old gods waking up, you know, talking about us waking up, you know, and maybe having our eyes open to some of the deception that's out there, potentially from the Titans. I think that all could be cool, good stuff. I think Awakenings could be a theme for the next expansion. Whether it's the title and this is the actual logo, who knows? We got another picture as well. This is something that's big in a lot of the leaks. Let me see if I can blow this up for you here. So this is apparently a screenshot of the Tinkerer class. I think the Tinkerer class is pretty legit. I think the fact that they added in the kind of like Tinkerish style class to the island expeditions is one of the AI was a good way for them to kind of test out some of the mechanics. We got I think the one goblin and the one gnome that run around. They have like the little heal bots and stuff like that. I think Tinker is a pretty legit thing to imagine is going to be coming either in the next expansion or the one after that. I think like all signs kind of point towards that as being something that could potentially happen. Especially we have got Mechagon, we've got Mecha Gnomes, all that kind of good stuff. So I think that's definitely a possibility. I don't think this screenshot is legit. It looks a little off to me. But I don't recognize all these icons. That doesn't mean anything. I do recognize some of them. Like one of them is very obviously the Azerite essence power. This one right here. But mechanical chicken bomb, 40-yard range, instant 15-second cooldown. Hurl a mechanical chicken bomb at the target, exploding for 450 fire damage and scorching it for 300 fire damage over 12 seconds. I mean, I'd welcome a new class if they wanted to give us one. I'm not like insanely excited about anything tinkery. I would be excited about trying out a ranged tank, which we'll see in a little bit is one of the potentials here for the Tinkerer. So here we go. I got this photo from a test dev for WoW 9.0, codenamed Awakenings, on a fresh test character. Expansion features are a new Tinker-like class called Mechanic. 3 specs, male-wearing class. We need a third male-wearing class, so that's a pretty obvious option. Tank with a robot suit like Diva from Overwatch. That sounds boring, kind of generic. And I don't know, but if they can do it so that you're like, I don't even know how a ranged tank would work, but that would be cool. DPS spec with turrets and orbitals as new weapons. I could see that. Azerite themed healing spec, which is the one in the screenshot. That'd be pretty cool. Class progression changes, new talent system. So this is something we've heard a lot. Complete old world revamp and level squish. Guys, it's Deathwing. We redid all the old stuff. Get excited again. Dragon Isles as the only new landmass. I can see that. We've got a lot of things pointing to Dragon Isles. Also, just the old gods coming back could change things up. It doesn't have to be Deathwing. Layers as a new type of PvE content, 3-player roguelike instances. So it sounds like a continuation or an iteration on island expeditions, possibly. Player and guild housing with a lot of customization. That would be really cool. I think that we get so much hype for that. I think that would be a really exciting feature if they pull it off correctly. I also don't think they're going to do it. All right, so let's get into what this awakening stuff actually is. So we've got our logo, we've got a login screen. Yeah, I don't know. This is from internal build. Everything is subject to change, including logo. Yeah, I don't know about that. New expansion is called World of Warcraft Awakenings. Feel free to believe it or not, I got this information from a couple of sources. I'm not from Blizzard. I'm not even a native English speaker. I saw the original logo, but couldn't leak it, so I made it in Photoshop using the Legion reveal background image. I tried to mention that it is not official, but I was in a hurry and forgot to put the symbol in there. You can check yesterday's thread. Revamped leveling experience. Simply put, Level Squish plus many features from recent expansions like bonus objectives and more. 1 to 65 Old World, 20 to 65 the other expansions if you want. Starter edition will get more attention. So I think they could do this with all the hype that's building up for Classic. Putting a new spin on the old world, I think would be a great way to revisit that content in a way that can kind of capture some of that nostalgia, but also not just be classic WoW. 65 to 70 on Dragon Isles. That would make sense to me. A little 5-level expansion pack. Also, a new talent system that looks like the old one, the current one, and the artifact ones combined. That's not very specific. Loving process from 1 to 70 will be very fast. Heirlooms are being removed. I doubt that. That's a lot of money invested for them to remove heirlooms. Complete remake of the old world. I really would love to see this. Like Cataclysm was one of my favorite expansions, not because of the end game, but because of the rework of the actual old world. That was super cool. I would love to see them do that. What they've done with Arathi Highlands has been awesome, and I would love to see more like graphical updates to the old world. Old world zones are some of my favorite. Not just the old world. I would love to see them remake like Burning Crusade and Northrend because those two are really out of date as well. That would be a cool thing to do. The goal is to make the old world feel as relevant as possible at all levels, not like in Kata. So maybe there's going to be like some scaling or something. The only continents that are being revamped are Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, right? Most of the assets are from the past few expansions. That makes sense to me. Revamp quest, and they're also relevant at max level. That would be really cool because I don't have any more alt characters to level unless this Tinkerer class does actually come out and it starts at level 1 or level 20. Um, the world will be as diverse as possible. You will see pretty much all of the enemy types, even the Legion ones. Also Pandaren, allied race hubs, and cities. Some zones are being merged. Both plague lands are merged into one big zone. Same with Stranglethorn Vale and more. Improved faction system. Many of the old factions are getting revamped. There will be so much stuff to do in the old world. Dragon Isles is the only zone, but is similar in size. So, yeah, everything about that sounds awesome. Sounds super hype. I would be like, I'm taking a break from making a lot of World of Warcraft content right now. This would get me pumped. This would get me like all in back into World of Warcraft to see this kind of stuff happen because frankly, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care about I'm ready for WoW 2.0 is kind of like where I'm at. Like, come on, like can we drop all this crap and take things to the next level? I don't. This isn't necessarily that, but I really did like the rework for Cataclysm. I like leveling alts, even though mine are all like max level now. Um, but this would be really cool, I think, especially if all that content is actually relevant at max level, so I can still experience it without having to level another alt. Now, it also makes sense because they want people to get the allied races and level the allied races. So this would give them a new old world to do that in, make things a little more exciting. Tinker class. So think of Gazlo's grease monkeys from the island expeditions. Yep. Battle Royale mode. You know, I hate this, but I could 100% believe it because Blizzard is all about jumping on the hype train a little bit too late. Just a bigger island expedition with free-for-all PvP. Not that impressive, just a gimmick to attract new players. Has its own progression system, available at level 10. Revamped time walking system. Time walking will be available all the time. New expansion every week. Old quest hubs and world quests with relevant rewards and many more features, making the old expansions relevant again. I think like this kind of stuff goes a long way towards making the game a lot more interesting and varied. PvE layers, mini difficulties, 2 mods, new bosses, or bosses from past expansions. Transmog changes, you will be able to transmog slots of gear, not individual pieces. There will be an on-off toggle. I don't really know what that... Oh, okay, so you can transmog your head slot, and you don't have to continually transmog an item. So like if you swap out your helmet, you wouldn't have to go back and transmog that. You could just transmog the slot. That would be a pretty cool feature. There will player flats and guild halls. Player flats are apartments so similar to Final Fantasy 14. I'm assuming, not 15. Guild halls are the same as player flats, but for guilds, very customizable. I actually really like the garrison system, and I would love if they continued along with some kind of system like that. Also, Final Fantasy 14 is becoming legit competition for World of Warcraft, and they've already talked about the leveling system, the recruiter friend system getting a change, and it basically mimics what they do in Final Fantasy 14. So mimicking player housing, I think at some point they gotta get at least on par with Final Fantasy 14 because it's catching up and starting to, I think, surpass them. And I think in the next 2 to 5 years, Final Fantasy 14 may be the go-to MMO for people that are looking for an actual MMO experience and not like a casual collection simulator. So WoW's got to do some stuff to change that. Procedurally generated mega dungeon, similar to a roguelike game, does not feel at all like a normal dungeon. Starts very easy, gets insanely hard towards the end. Structured in layers, will have a few save points. If you die, you lose all the progress and loot since the last save point. It will have a different layout every time you enter. It is still heavily in development. So I think this would be cool if they don't go. Maybe they will go the Mythic Plus route and make the modifiers or affixes show up randomly or something. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to just not do that and just, or maybe it's something that you start out with no modifiers and then you can eventually get modifiers. But if you're going to make it a roguelike style game, part of the fun of a roguelike game is it's not just all bad random stuff, it's good random stuff too. So a really good roguelike has you progressing through the dungeon, or whatever it may be. And obviously, it's going to get more difficult as you go, but you're also going to get more perks and bonuses to help you out. So, if they do something like that, that would be pretty cool. I actually talked about doing something like this in one of my old videos on the channel. I think it's like 5 cool ideas for WoW or something like that. You can find it. I didn't get a whole lot of views at the time, but I think it has some cool ideas in there. And that's one of the things I talked about was this kind of like random roguelikey type, dungeon scenario for PvE content. All right, what else do we have? This is a build. The owner of the PC is a Blizzard tester and relative of mine. More speculation. Alright, 8.3 won't be about Old Gods or the Shadowlands. It will be all about what will be known as the Great Battle for Azeroth, a big conflict between both factions, resulting in a completely ruined Azeroth. Both Orgrimmar and Stormwind will be heavily bombarded. Quite a few important characters will die, and so on. The next expansion will take place 5 years after BFA. That would be cool to do a time skip. And will be about healing and building a new peaceful Azeroth. The expansion will be called World of Warcraft Awakenings, if Legion and BFA names weren't stupid enough. It will be like a second Cataclysm, but much better. It is now the perfect opportunity for the story to introduce new characters and potential new villains. As for gameplay, Blizzard is willing to take some risks this time with a level squish and a very ambitious world reborn. As for other key features, there will be a new and expected male wearing class, Tinker, with 3 specs, available for humans, dwarves, gnomes, goblins, elves, orcs, and a few allied races. There will be some significant class changes. Only 2 new zones will be added, and they're both being designed around flying, the Dragon Isles, old god and dragon themed landmass, and a huge new version of the Caverns of Time called Edge of Time. A huge vertical maze like landmass. Woo. Composed of some rocks floating in space, something really different. Sounds kind of like Tempest Keep. The rest of the work will be done in the old world with mostly newer revamped quest lines. The goal for this revamp is to make Azeroth feel relevant to both new and capped characters. This will be done in many ways, ranging from interesting treasures, world quests to AI encounters, new faction system, and all sorts of events. They also are looking at making the character progression relevant. Many of the past expansion assets will also help a lot in rebuilding the world. First raid tier will be about the Infinite Dragon's Light. Now the level squish. All current characters will be squished to level 60, with 70 being the definitive level cap. Heirlooms are being removed. From 1 to 70, you can level in the new Azeroth. At level 30, you will be sent to the Edge of Time if you decide to level in past expansions. Ooh, okay. At 30, the Burning Crusade Wrath. 40, Kata and Mop. 50, World of Draenor, Legion, or BFA. And at level 65, you will choose the level in one of the 2 new zones. There will also be a Suramar-like experience somewhere deep in the past. Starter Edition cap will be increased to 40, and Blizzard will advertise this as WoW becoming free-to-play, kinda. Another crazy feature that is being worked is a Battle Royale experience. Blah. This is all I know. Blizzard is willing to go crazy next expansion, but the most important thing is that Classic WoW will come out, and they will have that if something goes wrong, and the release date for it will be announced in a couple of weeks. 9.0 will be announced at BlizzCon as usual. So what I think, man, I think these ideas are cool, and I think that they're cool just because I like them. And I'm a little bit hyped just because I like them. So is this true? I don't know. Would I want this to be true? Yeah, I think so. Ever since they did the Arathi rework, and I was like, wow, can they do this to every zone in the game? And I think there's a lot to be gained by them setting a hard level cap of like 70 or something like that, and then working on horizontal progression when the new expansion comes out. One of the biggest complaints that I had for Battle for Azeroth was like I was getting levels. I was getting from 100 to 110, and I was like, why? Why am I getting these levels? I'm not getting anything. I don't get a spell. I don't get a talent. If anything, I just feel weaker. So levels have gotten to the point where they seem absolutely pointless. And it's going to take either a complete overhaul of the reward system for leveling or a level squish or both to make that feel any better. So I think they have to do one or the other or both, like I said. But yeah, that and I think they really would benefit from making all of their content relevant at max level. Whether it's because you get scaled down, but you get rewards equivalent to your actual level, or whatever it is. Um, there is something to be said about being able to go back and just crush stuff. But if you can do that via Caverns of Time, you're like, hey, I want to do, such and such raid from Warlords of Draenor. I'm going to go to the Caverns of Time or the Edge of Time or whatever and queue up for that there and play it as an leveled powerful character, then that would make sense. Because if you're just constantly scaled down to like everything, that kind of does defeat some of the power fantasy that you get from an RPG. So I don't know about all that, but overall, I like these ideas. I think they're really cool. A lot better than the 8.3 leaks that we saw. All right, moving on. We're going to skip this one, and we're going to move into... This is the other leak, right? So we have the Awakenings leak that's talking about the world being rebuilt. It's talking about the Dragon Isles. It's talking about all this level changing and all this stuff. And then we also have the Age of Darkness leak. So the Age of Darkness is in a totally different direction, and it's saying, hey, 9.0 is actually going to be about the old gods. So we're going to read through this one, and we're going to see about the ideas here. Some of the ideas are the same, a lot of them are different. All right, so World of Warcraft Age of Darkness. Once again, this is from 4chan. And these are the highlights. Level squish to 50, new level cap 60, vanilla 1 to 20, the Burning Crusade Wrath of Lich King Cataclysm 20 to 30. So this is keeping the same tiered system of expansions that we currently have, but just squishing it down into other levels, which makes sense. I like the Caverns of Time idea better, where it's like, hey, you can just level in the new Azeroth. Because from an expansion release perspective, that makes the most sense. It would be weird to be like, hey, we redid all of Azeroth and you can level through it to level 60. So I like the Caverns of Time option better. It's like, hey, if you don't want to level through this, you can go level on Burning Crusade or something. But similar level cap idea here. New class, the Tinkerer. Again, 2 specializations, explosive, ranged damage dealer, and combat medic, which is healing. This is exclusive to gnomes, mechanomes, Draenei goblins, gill goblins, which I hope we don't get, and Forsaken. So, same kind of Tinkerer thing there. This is where it gets really different. The story. N'Zoth unleashes darkness over Azeroth, as foreshadowed in the Nighthold raid encounter with Star Augur Atreus. Starting point is the attack on Thunderbluff Raid, where he interrupts the Horde and Alliance forces in the final battle. Kalimdor is his first goal as he arrives to as he strives to revive one of our oldest foes, Cthulhu in Silithus. To do this, he's seeking to destroy the Bronze Dragonflight and turn Nosdormu into Murazond, so he alters the timeline where Cthulhu doesn't get defeated and the Battle of Ahn'Qiraj is lost by the Horde and Alliance in consequence. Okay, that sounds dumb. Dumb enough that maybe Blizzard would write it. I actually would prefer this if it was a combination of this and what we were reading in 8.3 earlier. Like N'Zoth is trying to resurrect Cthulhu, but he's doing it by using Azerite, like feeding Cthulhu Azerite to resurrect him. I think that would be cooler than this whole Dormu thing that they have going on. There's also just like some weird time travel timeline stuff with Nosdormu here, and I really don't think they want to get into that again after WoD. No real dragon focus yet. Bronze and Infinite Dragonflight play a major role. Xal'atath will play a major role as the main antagonist of the old gods, some kind of evil neutral. She commands us to captivate, I'm assuming capture, and imprison Sylvanas instead of killing her because we need her for some reason. Partial Old World revamp sounds more reasonable. Only unlocks after finishing the pre-quest for Age of Darkness. For new players, it will be the same as live until they do the pre-quest at level 50. Starting with Kalimdor, we'll have Ungoro, Feralis, Desolus, and Mulgore as new high-level zones. Silithus will be the in-game zone akin to Suramar. So this does sound more reasonable. Instead of a full, world revamp, we have a partial old world revamp. The Cataclysm expansion, that took a lot of work, and I feel like now it would take even more work. But once again, we've got old world revamp. Eastern Kingdom will be revamped later on with something special planned for Gilneas, Tears Fall, and the Plague Lands. Hint towards the old god underneath Tears Fall. No, there's no old god under Tears Fall. New features, Essence System, unlocked at level 50. Every class gets several new skills and traits from 50 to 60, similar to the Glyph system we once had. 5 sockets, 2 for passive traits, 2 for active skills, and 1 ultimate ability. That sounds interesting. I liked the original Glyph system and the iterations of it. I mostly liked it for the cool extra bonusy utility and cosmetic stuff. Like rogues had a glyph that allowed them to sprint or to run on water when they sprinted. I like that kind of stuff more than the straight power buffs. But that was cool. I don't particularly like the Heart of Azeroth essence system though. I like something that's unlocked as you are leveling up, and not something that you have to do all these weird activities to unlock. Reshaping of the talent system, offensive and defensive talents per bracket at level 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can pick one offensive plus one defensive talent per bracket. I think getting a talent like every 10 levels is not that interesting, and I hope that is not what we get. I don't really like that idea. I like a combination of kind of what we have now plus a talent tree. I think that would be a lot more interesting. Conquest points unlocked at level 60. This is the new max leveling system. Different bonuses you can spend points on, more execute damage, higher run speed. Once unlocked, it's available for all characters in the account that are at least level 10. Sounds like the Paragon system from Diablo 3. And I know some people from Diablo 3 ended up on the design team for WoW, so I could see this being a plausible thing that happens. Do I like it? I don't really care. It's fine in Diablo. I don't mind it in Diablo, but in Diablo it's nice because it's account wide and you want to play a lot of alts in Diablo, but there's a high portion of the WoW populace that only plays one main character, or if they have alts, they're not super serious about them. So I don't know how popular this would be, like from that perspective, because getting these minor upgrades, it feels when you're on like a high level character, but when you get on a low level character and you immediately have access to all this stuff, it feels really powerful. So I'm not sure how that would work in World of Warcraft. It also takes a lot longer to get to max level. Release date planned for Q4 2020. That makes sense to me. I'm actually expecting this expansion to come out in like 2021. I'm, you know, like there's reasons for them to not push it that far, but there are reasons for them to push it that far. And I think that if they're smart and if they want to get this right, this expansion is going to come out like Q1 2021. That's what I expect. Is they're going to need extra development time to put out something that's really going to flip the opinion on World of Warcraft. BFA's ending. 8.2.5 will introduce new heritage armor and new models. We already knew that. We'll deal mostly with factions in the aftermath of the events from Eternal Palace. Makes sense. 8.3 set in Mulgore. That could happen. Centered around Sylvanas' plan to attack Thunder Bluff. Mulgore will be turned into a new max level zone similar to Mechagon with ongoing progress and weekly unlocks culminating in the attack on Thunder Bluff raid. That seems weird for you to be doing all this stuff in Thunder Bluff, especially if you're on the Horde side and you're with Sylvanas. So I think that's probably BS. I also think like it doesn't sound like a super great idea. Mulgore is pretty flat and green for the most part. It's not the most interesting of zones. Sylvanas is the final boss with the Thanos aiding her. I don't think so. Ian said we would see the final boss of the raid or of the expansion at the end of the Eternal Palace raid, and we didn't see either one of them. Nathanos will be killed. Sylvanas will be severely wounded, captured, not captivated, and imprisoned by her sisters Ilaria and Varese. I think this is all just BS, honestly, and I don't think it's interesting. Nazas minions enter the battlefield and fight Sylvanas and us. Everything turns dark. No schedule for the patches yet, as everything during BFA took longer than expected. Plan is for 8.3 to be released this year. I doubt it. I think it might be Q1 next year. Depends. No, we still have a long time to go, so maybe it'll make. No, we have 8.2.5. I think 8.2.5 is going to come out close to BlizzCon probably, and then 8.3 is probably going to come out Q1 next year. Mechanomes and Guild Goblins will be the last pair of allied races coming into 8.3. I would actually like this because it's a pair of allied races that I don't have to care about. and I can just skip over them and not be like, "Ah, I wish I had these." Factions won't merge or get removed. There will be some kind of neutrality and interfactional group play and communication enabled. That sounds fine. This one had a lot more like BS, unbelievable stuff in it for me, and ideas that just don't sound as good. But that also could just make this the more plausible out of the two. So then this is a map from a different type of league. This is World of Warcraft Shadowlands. And this is an idea for the next expansion where we actually, the majority of the expansion is going to take place in the Shadowlands and the Dragon Isles. And there's a big map here. I couldn't find the text for this one that kind of went over what the leak was all about. But needless to say, I think this is a cool idea as well. If I had to rank these ideas, I would say Awakening sounds the coolest to me because I would love an old world revamp. Shadowlands sounds the next coolest for me because I want like a full whole expansion about old gods, the Shadowlands, Nyalotha, all that kind of stuff would be sweet. And then the what is it, Age of Darkness? It's probably my least like favorite idea here. I don't know. This just sounds it sounds like what they would put out nowadays, and I think if they put out Age of Darkness and it's this, I'm done. I think I'm done. This sounds like the kind of half-ass stuff that they did for Battle for Azeroth. Like, yeah, some of the zones are redone. There's some more allied races if you want to give us more money. We got more shop mounts for you. Hey, essences are back, but they're different. Yeah, like this. Ugh, just no. Guys, we redid the talent system. We gave you some of your old spells back. Isn't that everything that you wanted? No. No, it's not. I want you to be creative. I want you to give me more spells, more abilities, more class customization, more spec customization. I want you to like actually put some time into your I don't know. So if Age of Darkness came out, I would be sorely disappointed. The final thing here before we wrap things up, trying to keep this to under an hour. I know a lot of my videos go pretty long, but hey, I like to put them all in one. So this is the leak-based lore theory. Azeroth is already dead. So let's check this out because I like this theory. I like this theory a lot. According to the only credible leak that's come out in the past years that accurately describes BFA, there is an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist on the horizon. One of the main characters that everyone knows is an incarnation of N'Zoth and has been dead for years. We were never talking to them. Dubbed internally as the Sixth Sense experience moment, referring to how that movie ended. Spoiler alert, but the Sixth Sense experience is Bruce Willis finding out that he's been dead all along for the entire movie and didn't even realize it until the end. Now, at first thought, it could be Magni. I don't think it's Magni. Perhaps it was never Magni that came back as the Diamond King, rather N'Zoth posing to be him. After all, the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. But evaluating more closely, we were never talking to them, sounds much more like Azeroth herself. Indeed, Magni has always referred to speaking to Azeroth, but it's very likely that the voices he has been hearing are actually N'Zoth's. We already know that he's been manipulating into getting the champions to fill the heart of Azeroth in order to break N'Zoth free from his prison. But the way Ashara speaks about Magni doesn't really indicate that he's the secret agent. That lumbering dwarf believed you could save Azeroth by empowering your shiny little heart, the gift of a sleeping titan. Yes, a titan's heart was exactly what we needed, not to heal the world, but to shatter the prison of a god. So it's obvious then that Magni was speaking to N'Zoth when he thought he was speaking to Azeroth. Then comes the one tiny detail included in the BFA leak. Azeroth has been dead for years. What a plot twist that would be if it turns out that Azeroth is already dead and has been dead for a very long time. Suddenly, the implications emerge and play very neatly into some of the widespread notions that the next expansion is going to take us to the Shadowlands. It would make sense if we, the champions, are going to the realm of death to recover the lost Titan's soul. It would also explain who brought Vol'jin back to the realm of the living from the Shadowlands. I remember dying. I remember glimpsing the other side. I was expected to see old Bonsomni, blah blah blah. There was a presence somewhere in the shadows, something powerful. I remember it taking me somewhere, but the memory of where that be is hidden from me to keep me from sharing the truth. Ayer says, Shadowhunter, you are no longer a mere spirit. What you have become is something beyond my power to forge. Who be having such power? Could it be the same one to bid me to name Sylvanas war chief? You have been touched by the hand of valor. Such a noble force does not scheme for mortal thrones. Putting all these pieces together, it seems abundantly clear that it may be the deceased Azeroth who is responsible for bringing Vol'jin back from the Shadowlands and elevating him to god status. If the next expansion does indeed take us to the Shadowlands, then the MO of all characters, involves Sylvanas, Vol'jin, Bonsomni, Helya, the Lich King, Odin, N'Zoth is starting to look like an all-out war in the realm of death for the ultimate prize, Azeroth's dead world soul. Okay. So Azeroth has been dead for years. I think this is a cool idea and it's also a horrible idea, right? So I think this is a cool idea because it is a twist and it kind of it would make sense in a way because I think Azeroth being dead would mean that the planet Azeroth is like Earth in the sense that the reason it is the way it is because it's just a planet with life on it. And that could be an interesting twist. But then where's all this Azerite coming from? It's supposed to be the blood of Azeroth, the blood of the planet, the blood of the world soul, whatever. So it kind of loses some validity there for me. I think there's just a lot of cool lore and a lot of cool ideas around Azeroth. I think this would be a horrible idea because I think one of the big mysteries for World of Warcraft is what the heck is going on with Azeroth? Who is Azeroth? We obviously know like what Azeroth is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a Titan world soul at the heart of the planet. But what are his whatever powers? What can they do? What's going to happen if she wakes up? All those kind of questions are the things that I think are continuing to carry many players through the game, through the lore, even if they stop playing, wanting to know like what the heck is going to happen. I also think Azeroth fully waking up could be the launch pad for like a WoW 2.0, not like a new WoW, but like a total revamp of the system, of the world, expand out to multiple planets, all this kind of cool stuff. Like imagine if Azeroth woke up and all of a sudden like the planet of Azeroth is just exploding into fragments because this Titan is woken up in the middle of it. I think there's a lot of stuff they can go with, but I think this is interesting theory. I also really like a theory that Pyromancer has talked about Azeroth being asleep and kind of like everything going on being a dream. I think that's really interesting as well. That's something I'd like to touch on at some point. But this video has been insanely long, almost an hour, but it's a straight up, hey, let's talk leaks, let's talk lore, let's talk what I think would be cool expansion ideas. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Let me know if you're super into this lore, what you like from the leaks, what you don't like. Let me know if you'd like me to talk about, some of the World of Warcraft lore or what I think are my ideas. These are kind of fun videos. They just obviously will go long because this is a game that I've been playing since like 2004, 2005. And I actually really do keep up on a lot of the lore and have, my thoughts and my opinions and my hopes for like what they'll do with the lore and where I would hope it go. If you want me to talk about it, that's great. If you want to head somewhere where I guess a lot of what I think is already being spoken, then be sure to check out Pyromancer's channel. I'll link that in the description below. He's got a lot of crazy out there theories, and I don't agree with all of them, but a bunch of them I do. And even if I don't think they're actually real or plausible, I think they're a cooler version of what could happen in World of Warcraft than what, is actually going to happen. So, anyway, let me know what you thought of the video. If you've been checking out, some of the other videos that are popping up on the channel that aren't World of Warcraft related, I really appreciate that. Thank you for your support. I'm having some fun making those. And yeah, that's going to do it for me for right now. I got to get off and go get ready and head for bed. But I hope you're having fun in whatever it is that you're doing. And as always, I'll see you on the next video.